Welcome to the Deep Dive by 5W Media. Today, we're heading into some pretty shadowy corners of New Mexico. It's a place, as famous for its landscapes as it is for these, well, spectral tales.
Absolutely. We've got this great collection of sources you shared, articles about ghost towns, haunted hotels, local legends, even some personal accounts people have posted online about weird encounters.
Yeah, exactly. And our mission today isn't just to, list these stories. We want to really dig in. What makes them tick? Why are they so unsettling? Explore those echoes of history, maybe folklore that make the Land of Enchantment feel, well, truly enchanted and maybe a bit haunted.
Right. We'll be looking at how some historical tragedies might have left something behind. We'll talk about those famous legends passed down for generations. And yeah, those creepy personal stories that make you kind of question things.
Okay, so let's start with the ghost towns. New Mexico has a ton of them, right? Like over 400.
Yeah, it's amazing. Remnants of those old boom and bust times, mostly mining. A lot are gone now, reclaimed by nature or on private land, but some you can still visit. And they're just steeped in history, maybe more than just history.
Like Cerrillos, near Santa Fe. It's not totally empty now, but it definitely has that vibe.
It does, those 19th century buildings, plus it was used for filming Westerns.
Yeah.
It just feels, I don't know, ripe for ghost stories.
Right. And what about Golden? That was an early gold camp, wasn't it?
Back in the 1820s, Ortiz Mountains went through booms and busts. Now it's just quiet streets, those old adobe buildings. Makes you think.
Yeah, what stories could those walls tell? And Elizabethtown, that was actually New Mexico's first incorporated town.
Yeah, short-lived gold rush place up in Reno Valley. Now it's just, remnants, saloons, stores. Kind of a haunting reminder of how busy it once was.
Definitely. Then there's Cuervo, along old Route 66.
Ah, yeah. A classic Route 66 story.
Yeah.
The interstate, I-40, basically bypassed it and,
Yeah.
well, it died out. Mostly.
But there's still stuff standing, like a church.
Yeah. A century-old church, an old gas station.
Yeah.
Real relics. Gives you that eerie, quiet feeling.
Okay, how about White Oaks, near Carrizozo Peak? Another gold town.
That's right. And it has some really well-preserved buildings, like the Gum House, the Hoyle Mansion. Pretty impressive.
And the cemetery there. Cedar Vale Cemetery, isn't that where Deputy James Bell is buried? The one Billy the Kid supposedly got?
That's the one.
Yeah.
And there's another grave marker there with a kind of amusing story about its placement. Adds a bit of personality,
Yeah, those human touches make these places feel more real somehow.
Exactly. It's not just about ghosts. It's about the lives lived there. Kingston's another one, Silver Boomtown, Black Range Mountains. It declined after 1893, but people never totally left.
Mm-hmm.
And the buildings that are still there, like the Percha Bank Museum,
Mm-hmm.
you can almost picture it back then.
And Chloride is near there too, right? Another silver town?
Similar story. Smaller now, but still has this, charm. You can see where the old businesses were.
Then Pinos Altos, up in the Gila National Forest. Historic mining town.
Right? It was even the first county seat for Grant County. Saw a battle in 1861. Judge Roy Bean had his store there for a bit.
And it was never fully abandoned either.
Nope. Still has the Pinos Altos Museum, the Buckhorn Saloon. Feels like stepping back in time.
Okay, Mogollon. That one sounds like it had a reputation.
Oh, definitely. Wide open is how it's described. Mogollon Mountains attracted guys like Butch Cassidy.
So lots of gunfights, claim jumping, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sounds like it was pretty rough. A place where maybe some unsettled spirits might linger, It's mostly abandoned, but a few people still live there, look after the old buildings, keep the stories alive.
Okay, this next one is, wow, Bonito Lake. Or what used to be Bonito City.
Ah, yes, the submerged town.
Started as a mining camp, became a town, but had this really dark event. A mass murder in 1885.
That's right, the Mayberry family, 4 of them and 3 others.
Yeah.
Killed by a laborer, Martin Nelson.
And the really creepy part is the legend about after they flooded the valley to make the lake.
The burial of Nelson, head first.
Why head first?
To keep his spirit from rising. That's the folklore, anyway. A way to try and contain something really malevolent.
The Mayberry Hotel, stood empty for 15 years after the murders. People said it was haunted then.
Oh, yeah. Reports of bloody footprints, hearing muffled shots. Really disturbing stuff.
Even though they moved the victims' bodies before flooding the valley.
Apparently. The story goes that their spirits, and maybe Nelson's too, still haunt the lake area.
That's intense. What kind of hauntings do people report now around the lake?
Well, sightings of an apparition, like a man in old clothes. Sometimes his face is seen, floating under the water.
Ugh, creepy.
Yeah. And disembodied voices, even giggling when no one's around.
Mm-hmm.
It paints this really eerie picture. This serene lake with this violent past underneath.
It really makes you think about how trauma can just stick to a place.
Absolutely. And with so many ghost towns, so many potential tragedies, New Mexico just feels like fertile ground for these kinds of stories.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
From ghost towns to places still very much in operation, haunted hotels.
Right. And New Mexico has some classics.
Like the Hotel Park Central in Albuquerque. That wasn't always a hotel, was it?
You know, for decades it was a hospital and also a psychiatric facility.
Okay, right there. That's prime haunting territory.
Exactly. And former patients reported, the usual things. Voices, things moving, feeling watched.
And guests today still report that feeling of being watched.
They do. And some paranormal investigators even claim they've communicated with a spirit there, supposedly a former patient.
Wow. It's like those intense emotions, sickness, distress, maybe they just linger.
It seems possible, doesn't it? Especially when the reports span such a long time.
Then also in Albuquerque, the Chemo Theater. Famous ghost there, right? Little Bobby?
Yes, the story is he was a 6-year-old boy, died in an explosion back in 1951.
But he's not just a sad ghost, he's kind of a prankster.
A poltergeist, yeah.
Yeah.
Messes with the lights, opens and closes doors, supposedly drops equipment on stage crews.
And performers leave him gifts, donuts.
It's a tradition, like to keep him happy, maybe ensure the show goes okay. It's a fascinating bit of local lore.
Okay, now for a big one. The St. James Hotel in Cimarron. This place sounds legendary.
Oh, it is. Built in 1872, Wild West Central. The stories say, 26 murders happened inside the hotel itself?
Yeah. And you can still see bullet holes in the dining room ceiling.
Apparently so. And the guest list back then?
Yeah.
Wow. Blackjack Ketchum, Jesse James, Buffalo Bill Cody, Billy the Kid. They all stayed there.
So Room 18, that's the really famous one.
That's the one. Supposedly haunted by T.J. Wright, that gambler who was murdered after winning big at poker. They actually don't rent out Room 18.
Do you just keep it empty? Because of the ghost?
Seems like it.
Yeah.
The reports are intense for that room.
Yeah.
Cold spots, cigar smoke smell.
And seeing a ghostly cowboy in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling pushed. Yikes.
And it's not just Room 18. Room 17 is linked to Mary Lambert, the owner's second wife. People smell rose perfume, hear tapping on the window.
And there's a little imp, a mischievous spirit.
Yeah, another playful one, apparently. Likes to play tricks. Then you have the general stuff, objects falling, electronics acting up, that feeling of being watched.
There's that one story about a guest seeing a whole phantom poker game.
Yeah, that's an incredible account. Early morning, thinks he's the only one up, and sees these figures in period-dressed playing cards.
That perfectly fits the hotel's history. And someone else mentioned feeling touched, hearing a scream in Mary Lambert's room.
Right, and getting photos with weird things in them, like a vortex or a face in the window of Room 18.
Even though it was recently sold, the new owners want to keep that historic story going, right? Ghosts and all.
Yeah, that's the plan, apparently. It's part of the hotel's identity now.
Just quickly, a few others. Foster's Hotel in Chama. Supposedly 3 ghosts.
Yeah, a poisoned judge, a sick girl, a cowboy, reports of choking sounds, crying.
Hotel Eckland in Clayton, room 307. A maid named Irene.
That's the story. Creaking floors, faces in the wallpaper. Standard creepy hotel stuff.
And even the courthouse in Clayton where Blackjack Ketchum was hanged.
His headless ghost, supposedly. And the jailhouse stays freezing cold, they say. People see silhouettes, orbs.
Wow. Okay, and Dawson Cemetery near Cimarron? That's not a hotel, but it sounds incredibly haunted.
It's a very tragic place. All that's left of a coal mining town. Huge explosions in 1913 and 1923 killed hundreds of miners.
So the cemetery is active.
Highly haunted, according to reports. People see lights, like miners' lamps, moving among the graves at night. Ghostly figures, too. Very sad, very eerie. A disaster like that. You can imagine it leaving a mark.
Absolutely. Let's move on to local legends, the real folklore stuff. Starting with skinwalkers.
Ooh, yeah, that's a heavy one. Deeply rooted in Native American traditions, particularly Navajo.
People shared some terrifying encounters online. Seeing something on a snowy road, a figure running alongside a car, then vanishing.
Right. And there's a real sense of unease about them in places like Farmington and Bloomfield. It's not just a spooky story for many people. It's taken very seriously.
Then there's maybe the most famous one, La Llorona, the Weeping Woman.
A fixture in Hispanic culture all over the Southwest. The basics are usually the same. A mother drowns her children. Now she wanders waterways at night, weeping and searching.
Why she did it. The stories vary, right? Rage, neglect.
Yeah, the details shift, but that image of the weeping woman in white by the water is incredibly persistent.
And people report seeing her
Yeah.
all over New Mexico.
Oh, yeah. And kids are warned, don't go out late. La Llorona might get you.
Hmm.
We saw accounts of a family seeing her float over a creek, another where she appeared to kids arguing with their mom.
Someone even mentioned waking up while camping, feeling her presence.
It's a really powerful legend. Taps into some deep fears about loss, guilt. The fact that people still have these experiences says a lot about its cultural power.
And one more legend, the Death Waltz from Fort Union.
Ah, yeah, a great piece of Gothic Western folklore. This lieutenant goes off to fight, makes his love promise not to marry anyone else if he dies.
But he doesn't come back, and she does plan to marry someone else. Bad idea.
Very bad idea. According to the legend, his ghost shows up at the wedding ball, all mangled, forces her into a waltz.
And waltzes her to death, then vanishes.
That's the tale. Dramatic, chilling. A classic ghost story.
Okay, final section. Just general unexplained stuff, personal encounters, weirdness. We have to mention Roswell, right?
Briefly, yeah. Can't talk weird New Mexico without Roswell. The 1947 crash, the debris, the military changing its story from flying discs to weather balloon.
Fueling decades of UFO speculation, alien bodies, cover-ups, the whole 9 yards. They even have the UFO museum there.
It's become part of modern mythology, really.
Mm-hmm.
Shows our fascination with, are we alone?
Beyond aliens, someone online called New Mexico full of high strangeness, and people shared examples.
Yeah, it seemed to open the floodgates for creepy stories.
Like seeing a blurry, kneeling figure on a snowy road at night.
Mm-hmm. Or that story about the man running alongside the car in the ditch, then just vanishing onto the highway. That's unsettling.
And the fisherman near Farmington seeing those big green eyes in the dark, moving silently.
Yet no sound of branches breaking or anything, just gone.
Then there are some weirder ones. Sprites in Albuquerque? Like little men on kids' bikes?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that one's pretty out there. And the Roadrunner in tennis shoes.
Okay, that one's just bizarre. But maybe still unsettling.
It definitely adds to that high strangeness vibe, doesn't it?
People also talked about just feelings. Driving through rundown towns like Vaughn or Encino at night, feeling watched.
That's a common thread in these kinds of accounts, that sense of unease, of not being alone.
And strange lights. A hunter seeing lights like a city on a remote mesa.
Right, where there shouldn't be a city.
Yeah.
Adds to the mystery.
One person mentioned feeling pushed into a sink and feeling dread connected to La Llorona.
Yeah, that's a more direct, physical kind of encounter. Pretty scary.
And finally, just a list of other places people find creepy. The old Santa Fe prison.
The site of a horrific riot, yeah.
The Bisty Badlands.
Looks like another planet out there.
Navajo Reservation backroads, the Rio Grande Gorge, Elephant Butte tied to a serial killer.
Yeah, the Toy Box Killer, David Parker Ray. Dark associations.
Driving past Dolce at night, alien rumors there too. Chloride's Hanging Tree, St. Catherine's School, Elvado Lake, Shiprock, the Trinity site.
The list goes on and on. It really feels like the whole state has these pockets of weirdness or dark history.
It really does. It seems like New Mexico's history, its landscape, it's all just fertile ground for these ghost stories, these legends, these unexplained mysteries.
From the Wild West echoes in those towns and hotels to La Llorona to Roswell, there's this feeling that the past isn't quite gone.
Yeah, a palpable sense that things linger in the land of enchantment. These stories, whether they come from tragedy or folklore or someone's personal weird experience, they give us a fascinating look at the state's more mysterious side.
Definitely a deep well of stories to explore. Each one tells you something different about the place.
So, what stands out to you listening? What's the most compelling or maybe the most unsettling story we touched on? It's interesting stuff to think about. If you like what you're hearing, stay up to date by subscribing to the channel. Please like, share, and add a comment. It really means a lot to us. Thank you for tuning in to The Deep Dive.